Jordan, a 10-year-old boy with a strong sense of responsibility, always believed in doing the right thing, no matter how difficult it was. One day, while selling candy to help his family, Jordan makes a decision that changes everything. As he approaches a parked car, hoping to make a sale, he sees something inside that forces him to act quickly. Without hesitation, Jordan steps forward to make a call that no one could have imagined. Why did Jordan's quick thinking lead to such dramatic consequences? How did this young boy's courage uncover a life-threatening danger? And what ripple effects did it have on everyone involved? Stay tuned to find out. And before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from today. And if this story of bravery and quick action resonates with you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The sun had barely risen over the rooftops of Cedar Grove when Jordan's eyes fluttered open. He yawned, stretching his arms wide, then hopped out of bed with a determination that belied his 10 years. Today was going to be a good day. He could feel it in his bones. "Jordan, honey, breakfast's ready," his mother's voice called from the kitchen. "Coming, Mom," he shouted back, quickly pulling on his favorite blue t-shirt and a pair of worn jeans. As he entered the small kitchen, the smell of pancakes filled the air. His mother, Letitia, stood at the stove, her hair tied back in a neat bun. She turned to him with a warm smile that always made him feel safe. "Morning, sweetheart. Sleep well?" she asked, placing a plate of steaming pancakes in front of him. Jordan nodded, his mouth already full. He mumbled, savoring the sweet taste. Letitia ruffled his hair affectionately. "Slow down, baby. You'll choke if you eat that fast." As Jordan finished his breakfast, he noticed his mother's tired eyes and the slight slump in her shoulders. He knew she'd been working late shifts at the diner again. A pang of guilt mixed with determination surged through him. "Mom, I'm going to sell lots of candy today," he declared. "Maybe enough for us to get that new fridge you've been wanting." Letitia's eyes softened. "Oh, Jordan, you don't need to worry about that. It's my job to take care of us, not yours." But Jordan shook his head stubbornly. "I want to help, Mom. I can do it." Letitia sighed, torn between pride in her son's initiative and concern for his safety. "I know you can, baby. Just be careful out there, okay? Remember what I taught you about staying safe." Jordan nodded solemnly. "I will, Mom. I promise." After breakfast, Jordan grabbed his backpack filled with an assortment of candies, chocolate bars, lollipops, and chewy sweets. He'd bought them in bulk with the money he'd saved from his allowance, determined to turn a profit. As he stepped out onto the porch, Letitia called after him. "Jordan, wait a second." She knelt down in front of him, her hands on his shoulders. "Remember, if anything feels off, trust your gut, and if you ever feel scared or in danger, you run straight home or to Mrs. Thompson's house next door." "Got it?" Jordan nodded, trying not to roll his eyes. He'd heard this speech 100 times before. "I got it, Mom. Don't worry." Letitia pulled him into a tight hug. "I love you, baby. Be safe out there." "Love you too, Mom," Jordan replied, squirming out of her embrace with a grin. "I'll be back before dinner." As Jordan set off down the street, the world of Cedar Grove came to life around him. The neighborhood was a patchwork of experiences, each house and street corner holding its own story. He waved at old Mr. Johnson, who was already out tending to his prized rose bushes. The old man nodded back with a gruff smile. "Morning, young man. Selling your sweets again today?" "Yes, sir," Jordan replied cheerfully. "Want to buy some chocolate?" Mr. Johnson chuckled. "Not today, son. Gotta watch my sugar. But good luck out there." Jordan continued on his way, his spirits high. He loved his neighborhood, even if it wasn't the fanciest place in town. Sure, some of the houses needed a fresh coat of paint, and there were more empty lots than he'd like, but it was home. As he walked, he passed by the local playground. A group of older boys were shooting hoops, their laughter echoing across the court. Jordan quickened his pace, clutching his backpack a little tighter. Those boys had never bothered him before, but he learned it was better to be safe than sorry. He breathed a sigh of relief when he reached Main Street without incident. This was where the real work began. Jordan put on his brightest smile and approached a young couple walking hand in hand. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Would you like to buy some candy? I've got chocolate bars, lollipops, and chewy sweets." The woman smiled kindly, but shook her head. "No, thank you, sweetie. We're good." Jordan nodded, undeterred. "Okay, have a nice day." He continued down the street, approaching anyone who looked friendly. Some people bought a candy or two, praising him for his entrepreneurial spirit. Others brushed him off, too busy with their own lives to notice the hopeful boy with his backpack full of sweets. As the morning wore on, Jordan's initial enthusiasm began to wane. He'd only sold a handful of candies, and his feet were starting to ache. But then he remembered his mother's tired eyes and found a renewed sense of purpose. He spotted a man in a business suit walking briskly down the sidewalk, talking loudly on his phone. Jordan hesitated for a moment, then gathered his courage and approached him. "Excuse me, sir," he began, but the man held up a hand to silence him, still engrossed in his phone conversation. Jordan waited patiently, shuffling his feet. Finally, the man ended his call and turned to him with an irritated expression. "What is it, kid? I'm in a hurry." Jordan swallowed hard, but stood his ground. "Would you like to buy some candy, sir? I'm saving up to help my mom buy a new fridge." The man's expression softened slightly. He glanced at his watch, then back at Jordan. "You know what? Sure. Give me 2 of those chocolate bars." Jordan's face lit up as he handed over the candy. "Thank you, sir. That'll be $4. As the man paid him, he asked, "Shouldn't you be in school, kid?" "It's Saturday, sir," Jordan replied with a grin. The man chuckled. "So it is? Well, good luck with your sales. And stay safe out here, all right?" Jordan nodded. "Yes, sir. Thank you." As the day progressed, Jordan's luck seemed to improve. He sold candy to a group of giggling teenage girls, a kindly old woman who pinched his cheek, and even managed to convince the owner of the local bookstore to buy a whole box of lollipops for his customers. By mid-afternoon, Jordan's backpack was considerably lighter, and his pockets jingled with the day's earnings. He decided to take a break, sitting on a bench in the small park near the center of town. As he munched on one of his own lollipops, he figured he deserved a treat. He watched the world go by. Families strolled through the park, dogs chased frisbees, and the sounds of laughter filled the air. Jordan felt a sense of pride wash over him. He was doing this, helping his mom, being responsible. Maybe one day, he'd own his own store, or even a whole chain of candy shops. The possibilities seemed endless. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Cedar Grove as Jordan made his way down Maple Street. Despite his tired feet, Jordan's spirit remained high, fueled by the jingle of coins in his pocket and the thought of his mother's proud smile. As he approached the local grocery store, Jordan's eyes scanned the parking lot, always on the lookout for potential customers. The lot was half full, a mix of beat-up sedans and practical family cars. Nothing out of the ordinary in their modest neighborhood. That's when he spotted it, a car that seemed just a little too shiny, a little too new for Cedar Grove. It was a sleek, silver sedan, parked near the far end of the lot. Jordan's entrepreneurial spirit perked up. People with nice cars usually had money to spare, right? Without a second thought, he adjusted his backpack and started walking towards the vehicle. As he got closer, he could see 2 people inside, a man in the driver's seat and a woman in the passenger seat. Perfect, he thought. 2 potential customers were better than one. Jordan was about 15 feet away when something made him pause. It was nothing he could put his finger on, just a feeling that crept up his spine, making the hair on the back of his neck stand up. His mother's words echoed in his mind. "Trust your instincts, baby. If something feels off, it probably is." But the lure of a potential sale was strong. Jordan took a deep breath and continued forward, plastering on his best salesman smile. As he got closer, he could see the man more clearly. He was middle-aged, with a neatly trimmed beard and sunglasses that hid his eyes. The man was leaning towards the woman, talking intently. Jordan was just about to call out a greeting when his eyes met those of the woman in the passenger seat. In that brief moment, Jordan's world shifted on its axis. Her eyes were wide with an emotion Jordan had never seen before, raw, unbridled fear. It was gone in an instant as she quickly looked away, but the image burned itself into Jordan's mind. He faltered mid-step, his rehearsed sales pitch dying on his lips. Something was very, very wrong. Jordan's heart began to race, but he forced himself to keep walking, to act normal. He was close enough now to hear snippets of the man's low, intense voice. "Don't try anything stupid. Remember what I said about..." The man's words cut off abruptly as he noticed Jordan approaching. He turned, his face a mask of forced friendliness. "Can we help you, kid?" Jordan swallowed hard, his mouth suddenly dry. Hi there. I'm selling candy to raise money for my school. Would you like to buy some?" The man's smile didn't reach his eyes, hidden behind those dark sunglasses. "No thanks, we're good. Run along now." But Jordan couldn't move. His eyes were drawn back to the woman. She was staring straight ahead now, her face a blank mask. But Jordan noticed something. Her fingers, resting on the car door, were tapping. Not in any rhythm he could discern, just a constant, almost imperceptible movement. A chill ran down Jordan's spine as he remembered a movie he'd watched with his mom, about soldiers who'd been captured. They'd tapped out messages in code to let people know they needed help. Was that what the woman was doing? The man's voice, sharper now, cut through Jordan's thoughts. "I said we're not interested, kid. Get lost." Jordan nodded quickly, taking a step back. "Sorry to bother you. Have a nice day." As he turned to walk away, he risked one last glance at the woman. For a split second, their eyes met again. This time, Jordan was sure he saw a flicker of something. Desperation? A plea for help? His heart pounding, Jordan walked away as casually as he could manage. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but he forced himself to move slowly, naturally. "Don't let them know you suspect anything," he told himself. Once he was a safe distance away, hidden behind a row of parked cars, Jordan let out a shaky breath. His mind was racing, trying to make sense of what he'd just witnessed. The woman's frightened eyes, the man's controlling behavior, the tapping fingers, it all added up to something sinister, something dangerous. Jordan closed his eyes, trying to calm his racing heart. What should he do? What could he do? He was just a kid, after all. Maybe he was imagining things. Maybe it was all just a misunderstanding. But deep down, he knew that wasn't true. His gut was telling him that the woman in that car was in real danger. And if there was one thing his mother had drilled into him, it was to trust his instincts. Jordan peeked around the car he was hiding behind, his eyes searching for the silver sedan. It was still there, the man and woman sitting in seemingly calm silence. But now that he knew what to look for, Jordan could see the tension in the woman's posture, the tight grip the man had on the steering wheel. A memory surfaced, a class they'd had at school about personal safety. The police officer who'd come to talk to them had said something that stuck with Jordan. If you see something, say something. You might be the only one who notices, the only one who can help. Jordan's resolve hardened. He had to do something, but what? He couldn't confront the man directly. That would be too dangerous. And he couldn't just walk away and pretend he hadn't seen anything. The thought of leaving that woman in danger made his stomach churn. Then it hit him. His phone. He could call for help. With trembling fingers, Jordan pulled out his old flip phone, a hand-me-down from his mom, to be used only in emergencies. Well, if this wasn't an emergency, he didn't know what was. He was about to dial 911 when a new fear gripped him. What if he was wrong? What if it was all just a big misunderstanding? He'd get in trouble for sure, maybe even get arrested for making a false report. Jordan's finger hovered over the keypad, doubt clouding his mind. But then he remembered the look in the woman's eyes, the silent desperation he'd seen there. He couldn't ignore that. He wouldn't. Taking a deep breath, Jordan made his decision. He began to type out a text message to his mom. If anyone would know what to do, it would be her. "Mom, I'm at the grocery store parking lot. There's a silver car with a man and woman inside. Something's wrong." The woman looked scared. "What should I do?" He hit send, then waited, his heart pounding so loud he was sure everyone in the parking lot could hear it. Seconds ticked by like hours. What if his mom was busy at work? What if she didn't see the message in time? Just as panic was about to overwhelm him, his phone buzzed. Jordan nearly dropped it in his haste to read the reply. "Stay calm. Don't approach the car again. Call 911 right now. Tell them everything you saw. I'm on my way. Please be safe, baby." Relief washed over Jordan, followed quickly by a new wave of anxiety. He had to call 911. This was really happening. With shaking hands, he dialed the numbers. Each ring seemed to last an eternity. Finally, a calm voice answered. 911. "What's your emergency?" Jordan took a deep breath, trying to keep his voice steady. Hi, I'm at the grocery store parking lot on Maple Street. There's a silver car here, and I think the woman inside might be in danger. The dispatcher's voice remained calm and professional. Can you tell me more about what you've seen? Jordan closed his eyes, focusing on remembering every detail. The car is a silver sedan, pretty new looking. There's a man driving and a woman in the passenger seat. The woman, she looked really scared when I walked by, and her fingers were tapping on the door, like maybe she was trying to signal for help. You've done the right thing by calling us, the dispatcher assured him. Can you see the license plate of the car? Jordan peeked around the car he was hiding behind, squinting to make out the numbers and letters. Yeah, it's KFG 247. Good job. Now, I need you to stay where you are, out of sight. Don't approach the car again. Can you do that for me? Yes, Jordan whispered. I'm hiding behind some other cars. They can't see me. Excellent. Police officers are on their way. They should be there very soon. Can you stay on the line with me until they arrive? Jordan nodded, then remembered the dispatcher couldn't see him. Yes, I can do that. As he waited, huddled behind a rusty pickup truck, Jordan's mind raced with questions. Who was that woman? Why was she so scared? What was the man planning to do? He was so lost in his thoughts that he almost missed the dispatcher's next question. Are you alone? Or is there an adult with you? I'm alone, Jordan admitted. But my mom's on her way. I texted her before I called you. That's good, the dispatcher said. You've been very brave. Can you tell me your name? Jordan. Jordan Taylor. Okay, Jordan. You're doing great. The police should be there any minute now. Can you still see the silver car? Jordan peeked out again. His heart nearly stopped when he saw the man start the engine. They're starting the car. Are they going to leave? The dispatcher's voice remained calm, but there was a new urgency to it. Don't worry, Jordan. The police are almost there. Just stay hidden and keep watching. Can you see which way they're going? But before Jordan could answer, he heard the wail of sirens in the distance, growing louder by the second. Relief flooded through him. Help was coming. The next few minutes passed in a blur. 2 police cars sped into the parking lot, lights flashing and sirens blaring. They blocked in the silver sedan before it could leave its parking spot. Jordan watched, wide-eyed, as officers approached the car, hands on their weapons. There was a tense moment when the man seemed to be arguing with them, but then, slowly, he opened the door and stepped out, hands raised. Another officer helped the woman out of the passenger side. Even from a distance, Jordan could see she was shaking. Jordan, are you still there? The dispatcher's voice brought him back to the phone in his hand. Yeah, I'm here. The police are here too. They've got the man and the woman out of the car. You did a great job, Jordan. It's safe for you to come out now. Can you see a female officer with red hair? Jordan scanned the scene and spotted her. Yes, I see her. Okay, I want you to go over to her and tell her you're the one who called 911. Can you do that for me? Yes, I can, Jordan said, his voice stronger now. Thank you for helping me. You're the one who helped today, Jordan. You should be very proud of yourself. As Jordan ended the call and stood up on shaky legs, he heard a familiar voice calling his name. He turned to see his mother running towards him, her face a mix of worry and relief. Jordan, oh, thank God you're okay. She swept him into a tight hug, and Jordan felt tears prick at his eyes as the events of the last hour caught up with him. Mom, I was so scared, he whispered into her shoulder. But I remember what you taught me, about trusting my instincts. Letitia pulled back, cupping Jordan's face in her hands. You did good, baby. You did so good. Come on, let's go talk to the police officer. When the red-haired officer saw Jordan approaching, she turned towards him and asked, Jordan Taylor? Her voice kind but firm. Jordan nodded, his mouth suddenly dry. Yes, ma'am. I'm Officer Sanchez. You did the right thing by calling us, Jordan. Your information helped us get here in time to intervene. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, and Jordan felt a wave of relief wash over him. Is the woman okay? He asked, his eyes darting back to where she was being questioned by another officer. Officer Sanchez sighed, her expression somber. It's still early, but it looks like she's been through a traumatic experience. We won't know the full extent until we can get her to the station and talk to her in a safe, comfortable environment. Jordan's brow furrowed. What do you mean? What happened to her? The officer's gaze softened. From what we can tell so far, it appears that woman has been kidnapped and held against her will for several days. Your quick thinking and willingness to report what you saw may have saved her life. Jordan's stomach churned as the gravity of the situation sank in. Kidnapped? Held against her will? The thought of that woman, trapped and terrified, made his heart ache. How? How did you know something was wrong? Officer Sanchez asked, her eyes searching Jordan's face. What made you call the police? Jordan swallowed hard, recalling the moment when he'd first approached the car, when he'd seen the woman's fearful expression and her subtle, desperate signals. Well, I was just going around trying to sell some candy like I do sometimes, he began, his voice soft. And when I got close to that car, I noticed the woman in the passenger seat. She looked really scared, and she made eye contact with me for just a second. Then the man in the driver's seat said something to her, and she just froze up. He paused, biting his lip as the memory replayed in his mind. And then I saw her fingers tapping on the door. It was so subtle, but it felt wrong, like she was trying to send a message or something. Officer Sanchez nodded, her expression thoughtful. That's very observant of you, Jordan. It sounds like you've got a good instinct for reading people's body language and picking up on subtle cues. Jordan felt a surge of pride, but it was tinged with a lingering unease. I couldn't ignore it. My mom's always telling me to trust my gut, and something about that whole situation just didn't feel right. The officer gave his shoulder a gentle squeeze. Well, your instincts served you well today, Jordan. Because of your quick action and the information you provided, we were able to intervene and potentially save that woman's life. Jordan's eyes widened as the full weight of his actions sank in. Save her life? But I'm just a kid. I didn't do anything special. You did something extraordinary, Jordan. Officer Sanchez interrupted, her voice firm. Most people would have just walked away or dismissed their suspicions as nothing. But you trusted your instincts and you took action. That kind of courage and compassion is rare, especially in someone your age. Jordan felt a surge of emotion, a mix of pride and disbelief. He'd never thought of himself as particularly brave or heroic. He was just a kid trying to help his family to do the right thing. But now, standing here with a police officer who was praising his actions, he couldn't help but feel a newfound sense of confidence. The woman is safe now, he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Officer Sanchez nodded. Yes, thanks to you. We'll need to take her statement and get her the medical attention and support she needs, but she's out of immediate danger. Jordan glanced back at the scene, where the woman was now seated in the back of an ambulance, a blanket draped over her shoulders. She looked shaken, but there was a clarity in her eyes that hadn't been there before, as if a weight had been lifted from her. What's going to happen to the man? Jordan asked, his gaze shifting to the police car where the kidnapper was being held. He's under arrest, Officer Sanchez replied, her expression hardening. We'll be charging him with kidnapping, among other crimes. He's going to be facing some very serious consequences for his actions. Jordan nodded, a sense of grim satisfaction washing over him. The man deserved whatever punishment came his way. After all, he'd hurt that poor woman, had made her live in fear. Jordan couldn't imagine the terror she must have felt, trapped in that car with no way to escape. Can I talk to her? He asked suddenly, surprising even himself. The woman, I want to make sure she's okay. Officer Sanchez studied him for a moment, her eyes filled with a mixture of empathy and pride. I think that could be arranged, Jordan. She may need some time to recover, but I'm sure she'd appreciate the chance to thank you in person. Jordan felt a surge of relief. He needed to see for himself that the woman was safe, that his actions had truly made a difference. As the officer led him towards the ambulance, he couldn't help but glance back at the silver sedan, now surrounded by a flurry of activity as the police continued their investigation. The man, his wrists cuffed behind his back, was being escorted to one of the patrol cars. Jordan caught his eye for a brief moment, and he was surprised to see a flicker of anger and something else in the man's gaze. Was it fear? Regret? Jordan quickly looked away, his heart pounding. He didn't want to dwell on the kidnapper, not when there was someone else who needed his attention. As he approached the ambulance, the woman looked up, her eyes meeting his. There was a moment of recognition, followed by a wave of emotion that Jordan couldn't quite decipher. Gratitude? Relief? Something else entirely? "Ma'am, this is Jordan," Officer Sanchez said, her voice gentle. "He's the one who called 911 and reported what he saw." The woman's lips parted, and for a moment, no words came out. Then, slowly, she reached out and grasped Jordan's hand, her grip surprisingly firm. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice ragged with emotion. "Thank you for not walking away." Jordan felt a lump rise in his throat, and he had to swallow hard before he could reply. I'm just glad you're safe now," he managed, his own voice shaking slightly. The woman nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. If you hadn't trusted your instincts, I don't know what would have happened to me." She paused, her gaze searching his face. "You saved my life, Jordan. I'll never be able to thank you enough for that." Jordan felt a surge of pride and humility, a strange mix of emotions that left him feeling both overwhelmed and empowered. He'd always thought of himself as just a kid, someone who couldn't make a real difference in the world. But now, standing here, with this woman's gratitude pouring over him, he realized that even the smallest actions could have the biggest impact. "I'm just glad I could help," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I was scared, but I knew I had to do something. My mom's always telling me to trust my instincts, and that's what I did." The woman's lips curved into a gentle smile, and she gave his hand a gentle squeeze. "Your mother must be very proud of you, Jordan." "I know I am." Jordan felt a surge of warmth at her words, and he couldn't help but glance over at his mother, who was standing a respectful distance away, her eyes shining with pride. "She is," he replied, his own smile widening. And I'm proud of myself, too. I never thought I could do something like this, but I did, and it feels good, to know that I made a difference." The woman nodded, her expression softening. "You have every right to feel proud, Jordan. What you did today was truly remarkable. You're a very special young man, and I know that great things are in store for you." Jordan felt a flush creep up his cheeks at her words, and he ducked his head shyly. He wasn't used to receiving such high praise, especially from someone he didn't even know. But there was something about the way the woman spoke, the sincerity in her eyes, that made him believe her. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice filled with a newfound confidence. I'm just glad I could help." As Officer Sanchez gently guided him away, Jordan couldn't help but glance back at the woman one more time. She was watching him go, a small, grateful smile playing on her lips. And in that moment, Jordan knew that this day would forever be etched in his memory, a testament to the power of trusting one's instincts and the courage to make a difference. As he rejoined his mother, who immediately pulled him into a fierce hug, Jordan felt a surge of emotions wash over him. Relief, pride, and a newfound sense of purpose all mingled together, creating a heady mix that left him feeling both exhilarated and exhausted. "Oh, Jordan, I'm so proud of you," Letitia murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "You did such a brave thing today. I can't even begin to tell you how proud I am." Jordan felt a surge of pride at her words, but he also felt a lingering sense of disbelief. "I still can't believe it, Mom. I'm just a kid, and I did that. I actually made a difference." Letitia smiled, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "You did, Jordan. You're a hero, and don't you ever forget that." Jordan felt a lump rise in his throat, and he quickly blinked back his own tears. I wanted to help, I wanted to make you proud." "Oh, baby, you already do," Letitia assured him, pulling him into another tight hug. "Every single day, you make me so proud. But today, you did something truly extraordinary. And I know that this is just the beginning for you." Jordan nodded, his face buried in his mother's shoulder. He knew that the events of the day would take some time to fully process, that the gravity of what he had done would continue to sink in. But in that moment, surrounded by the warmth and love of his mother, he felt a sense of peace and purpose that he had never known before. As they pulled apart, Jordan noticed that the police officers were beginning to wrap up their investigation. The silver sedan had been towed away, and the woman was being carefully escorted into one of the patrol cars, presumably to be taken to the station for further questioning. Jordan watched as the car pulled away, a sense of relief and concern warring within him. He hoped that the woman would be able to recover from her ordeal, that she would find the support and resources she needed to heal. And a part of him couldn't help but wonder about the man who had been arrested, the one who had caused her such fear and suffering. As the police officers began to disperse, Jordan felt a sense of both relief and uncertainty. The immediate danger had passed, but the full impact of the day's events was only just starting to sink in. He knew that his life would never be the same after this, that he had been forever changed by the courage and conviction he had shown. But as he walked back to his mother's car, hand in hand, he also knew that he wouldn't have it any other way. He had listened to his instincts, had trusted his gut, and because of that, he had made a real difference in the world. And that knowledge, that sense of purpose and empowerment, was worth more than all the candy sales in the world. As the sun began to set over Cedar Grove, casting a warm glow over the familiar streets, Jordan felt a newfound sense of hope and purpose. He may have just been a kid, but he was a kid who had saved a life, and that, he knew, was something worth celebrating. The drive home was quiet, with Jordan lost in thought as he stared out the window. The events of the day played on repeat in his mind, a mix of pride and lingering fear swirling in his chest. As they pulled into their driveway, Letitia turned to her son, her eyes filled with a mix of emotions. "Jordan, baby, let's talk inside, okay?" Jordan nodded, following his mother into their small but cozy living room. Letitia sat on the worn couch, patting the spot next to her. Jordan sank into the familiar cushions, suddenly feeling exhausted. "You know, I'm so proud of you," Letitia began, her voice soft. "What you did today, it was incredibly brave. But I can't help thinking about how close you were to danger. It scares me, Jordan." Jordan looked up at his mother, seeing the worry lines etched around her eyes. "I was scared too, Mom, but I kept hearing your voice in my head, telling me to trust my gut. I couldn't just walk away." Letitia pulled him into a tight hug, her voice thick with emotion. "I know, baby. You did the right thing. I can't bear the thought of anything happening to you." As they sat there, holding each other, Jordan felt a warmth spread through him. He'd always been close to his mom, but this moment felt different. They'd faced something big together, and it had only made their bond stronger. "Mom," Jordan whispered, "I'm sorry I scared you, but I'm not sorry for what I did. Is that okay?" Letitia pulled back, cupping Jordan's face in her hands. "It's more than okay, Jordan. It's who you are, brave, compassionate, and always ready to help others. Don't ever lose that. You hear me?" Jordan nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "I won't, Mom. I promise." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the weight of the day's events settling around them. Finally, Letitia stood up, stretching her arms above her head. "Well, I don't know about you, but I'm starving. How about we order some pizza to celebrate our little hero?" Jordan's eyes lit up. "Can we get the one with extra cheese and pepperoni?" Letitia laughed, ruffling his hair. "Anything you want, baby. You've earned it." As they waited for the pizza to arrive, Jordan helped his mom tidy up the living room. He couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted, not just in their relationship, but in his entire world. The doorbell rang, interrupting his thoughts. "Pizza's here," Letitia called, heading to the door with her wallet. As they sat at the kitchen table, savoring their cheesy feast, Jordan felt a sense of normalcy return. He was still just a kid, after all, enjoying pizza with his mom on a Saturday night. But now, he was a kid who had made a real difference in the world. "You know," Letitia said between bites, "I was thinking we should do something special tomorrow. How about we go to the park, have a picnic? We could invite some of your friends if you want." Jordan considered this for a moment. "Can we just stay home? Maybe watch some movies together?" Letitia's expression softened. "Of course we can, baby. That sounds perfect." The next day passed in a blur of comfort movies, popcorn, and cuddles on the couch. Jordan relished the quiet time with his mom, feeling safe and loved in their little bubble. But as Sunday evening rolled around, a new anxiety began to creep in. Tomorrow was Monday, which meant school. Jordan's stomach churned at the thought of facing his classmates and teachers. "Mom," he called from his bedroom, where he was laying out his clothes for the next day. "Do I have to go to school tomorrow?" Letitia appeared in the doorway, a concerned look on her face. "Are you feeling sick, honey?" Jordan shook his head, avoiding her gaze. "No, what if everyone acts weird? What if they ask me a bunch of questions I don't want to answer?" Letitia sat on the edge of his bed, patting the spot next to her. Jordan joined her, leaning into her side. "I know it's scary, baby, but you can't hide away forever. And you know what? I bet your friends and teachers will be proud of you. They might have questions, sure, but you don't have to answer anything you're not comfortable with." "Okay." Jordan nodded, feeling a little better. "Okay. Thanks, Mom." The next morning, Jordan walked into his classroom with his head held high, despite the butterflies in his stomach. As soon as he stepped through the door, a hush fell over the room. Then, to his surprise, his best friend Marcus jumped up from his seat. "There he is, the hero of Cedar Grove." Suddenly, the room erupted in cheers and applause. Jordan's face flushed as his classmates surrounded him, peppering him with questions and words of admiration. "Did you really save someone from a kidnapper? Were you scared? You're so brave, Jordan." Their teacher, Ms. Carter, finally managed to calm the excited chatter. "All right, everyone, let's give Jordan some space. We're all very proud of him, but remember, he's still our classmate and friend. Now, let's start our day with some math, shall we?" As the day progressed, Jordan found himself relaxing. His friends treated him normally for the most part, only occasionally asking questions about what happened. By lunchtime, he was feeling almost back to his old self. That afternoon, as Jordan was walking home from school, he noticed a sleek news van parked outside his house. His stomach did a little flip as he approached, seeing a woman with a microphone and a man with a large camera on their front lawn. Letitia was already there talking to the reporter. When she saw Jordan, she waved him over. "Jordan, honey, this is Sarah Chun from Channel 5 News. She'd like to interview you about what happened on Saturday. Would that be okay?" Jordan hesitated, looking from his mother to the reporter. Sarah gave him a kind smile. "It's completely up to you, Jordan. We'd love to share your story, but only if you're comfortable." Taking a deep breath, Jordan nodded. "Okay, I'll do it." Sarah's face lit up. "Wonderful. Let's get you set up. We'll just ask you a few questions about what happened and how you're feeling now. Sound good?" As the camera started rolling, Jordan felt his nerves melting away. Sarah's gentle questions and encouraging nods made it easy to tell his story. "Jordan," Sarah said towards the end of the interview, "you showed incredible bravery and wisdom beyond your years. What would you say to other kids who might find themselves in a similar situation?" Jordan thought for a moment, remembering how scared he'd been that day. "I'd say, trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is, and don't be afraid to ask for help. You're never too young to make a difference." As the camera clicked off, Sarah turned to Jordan and his mother. "Thank you both so much. Jordan, you're an inspiration. Your story is going to touch a lot of lives." That evening, as Jordan was helping his mom with dinner, there was a knock at the door. Letitia went to answer it, returning a moment later with a familiar face, Officer Sanchez, the policewoman who had taken Jordan's statement on Saturday. "Hello, Jordan," she said with a warm smile. "I hope you don't mind me stopping by. I wanted to give you an update on the case, and to thank you again for your help." Jordan wiped his hands on a dish towel, giving the officer his full attention. "Is everything okay? Is the woman all right?" Officer Sanchez nodded. "She's doing much better, thanks to you. The man who kidnapped her is in custody, and he's going to be facing some serious charges. Your testimony is going to be a big help in making sure he can't hurt anyone else." A wave of relief washed over Jordan. "I'm glad she's okay," he said softly. "You know," Officer Sanchez continued, "we have a program at the station for kids who are interested in law enforcement. It's like a junior police academy. After seeing how observant and brave you are, I think you'd be a great fit. Would you be interested in learning more about it?" Jordan's eyes widened. "Really? That sounds amazing." Letitia chimed in. "That does sound wonderful. When does the program start?" As Officer Sanchez explained the details, Jordan felt a spark of excitement. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of attention and activity. Jordan's interview aired on the local news, and suddenly, he was Cedar Grove's biggest celebrity. Neighbors stopped by with homemade treats and words of praise. His phone buzzed constantly with messages from classmates and even kids from other schools who had seen his story. On Friday afternoon, as Jordan was helping his mom with the dishes, there was another knock at the door. This time, when Letitia opened it, Jordan heard a familiar voice, one that made his heart skip a beat. "Hello, I'm Emily. I'm looking for Jordan. Is he home?" Jordan peeked around his mother, his eyes widening as he saw the woman he'd saved standing on their porch. She looked healthier and more vibrant than he remembered, but he'd never forget those eyes. Emily's face lit up when she saw him. "Jordan," she said softly, "I hope you don't mind me stopping by. I needed to thank you in person." Letitia invited Emily in, and soon they were all seated in the living room. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she looked at Jordan. "I don't even know where to begin," she said, her voice shaking. "You saved my life, Jordan. If you hadn't been there that day, if you hadn't trusted your instincts, I might not be here now." Jordan felt a lump form in his throat. "I'm just glad you're okay," he managed to say. Emily knelt down, taking Jordan's hands in hers. "You gave me a second chance at life. Because of you, I get to see my family again, to feel safe again. I'll never be able to thank you enough for that." Jordan's cheeks flushed, and he ducked his head modestly. "Anyone would have done the same," he murmured. Emily shook her head, a small smile on her lips. "No, Jordan. Not everyone would have been as brave or as perceptive as you were. You're a very special young man." As Emily shared more of her story with Jordan and Letitia, the full impact of Jordan's actions began to sink in. He'd not only saved Emily's life, but had set in motion a chain of events that would change many lives for the better. Emily explained how she was working with a support group for survivors of kidnapping, using her experience to help others heal. "And it's all because of you, Jordan," she said. "Your bravery didn't just save me. It's helping so many others now, too." Before she left, Emily handed Jordan an envelope. "It's not much," she said, "but I wanted to do something to show my gratitude. It's a savings bond. I hope it can help with your future education." Jordan was speechless, looking to his mother for guidance. Letitia, her eyes shining with tears, nodded. "That's incredibly generous of you, Emily. Thank you." As Emily hugged them both goodbye, Jordan felt a warmth spreading through his chest. He'd made a real difference in someone's life, and now that person was out there making a difference for others. It was like a ripple effect of goodness, all starting from one small act of bravery. The following week brought even more surprises. On Monday morning, Letitia received a phone call that left her in happy tears. "Jordan, baby, you won't believe this," she said, hanging up the phone. "That was Mr. Daniels, the owner of the grocery store. He's offered me a job, a management position, better pay, better hours, benefits. Oh my God, Jordan, this is amazing." Jordan jumped up and down, caught up in his mother's excitement. "Mom, that's awesome. But why? I mean, not that you don't deserve it, but..." Letitia laughed, pulling Jordan into a hug. "Mr. Daniels said your actions made him realize he needs more people like you in this world. And he figures the apple doesn't fall far from the tree." As they celebrated this unexpected turn of events, the mailman arrived with a thick envelope addressed to Jordan. Curious, he tore it open, his eyes growing wide as he read the contents. "Mom," he shouted, his voice filled with disbelief. "It's from Cedar Grove Academy. They're offering me a scholarship. Full ride through high school." Letitia grabbed the letter, her hands shaking as she read it. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Jordan, this is incredible." The letter explained that the school had been impressed by Jordan's bravery and quick thinking. They believed he exemplified the values they sought to instill in their students and wanted to offer him the opportunity to study at their prestigious institution. As the excitement of the moment faded, Jordan found himself sitting on the front porch, lost in thought. The past 2 weeks had been a whirlwind, filled with more attention and opportunities than he'd ever dreamed possible. He thought back to that Saturday afternoon, to the moment he'd first locked eyes with Emily in that car. He remembered the fear that had gripped him, the doubt that had almost made him walk away. But he'd listened to that small voice inside, the one telling him something wasn't right. Jordan realized that his life had changed forever because of that one moment of bravery. But more importantly, He'd changed someone else's life. He'd made a real difference in the world. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over Cedar Grove, Jordan felt a sense of purpose settle over him. He may have started out just trying to sell some candy, but he discovered something far more valuable: the power of trusting his instincts and the courage to act on them. The next day, Jordan decided to go back to selling candy. Not because he needed to anymore. Between his mom's new job and his scholarship, their financial worries had eased considerably. No, he wanted to do it because it reminded him of where this all started. As he walked down the familiar streets of Cedar Grove, his backpack full of sweets, Jordan felt different. He stood a little taller, smiled a little brighter. People recognized him now, stopping to chat and congratulate him on his bravery. But Jordan didn't let it go to his head. He remembered what his mom had always taught him: to stay humble and kind, no matter what. As he approached a group of younger kids playing in their front yard, Jordan had an idea. He called out to them, offering free candy. The kids gathered around him, eyes wide with excitement. As he handed out the sweets, Jordan spoke to them. "You know, I learned something really important recently," he said. "I learned that even when you're young, you can make a big difference in the world. All you have to do is trust yourself and be brave enough to do the right thing." The children listened intently, their faces serious as they absorbed his words. Jordan felt a sense of responsibility, knowing that these kids looked up to him now. "So remember," he continued, "if you ever see something that doesn't seem right, don't be afraid to speak up. You might just change someone's life." As he walked away, leaving behind a group of inspired young faces, Jordan felt a renewed sense of purpose. He realized that his journey wasn't over. It was just beginning. That evening, as Jordan sat on the porch swing with his mom, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, he felt content in a way he never had before. "Mom," he said softly, "I think I know what I want to do when I grow up." Letitia turned to him, a curious smile on her face. "Oh yeah? What's that, baby?" Jordan took a deep breath, his eyes shining with determination. "I want to help people. Maybe become a police officer like Officer Sanchez, or work with kids to teach them about safety. I want to make sure that what happened to Emily doesn't happen to anyone else." Letitia pulled her son close, her heart swelling with pride. "That's a wonderful goal, baby, and I know you'll make it happen." As the weeks passed, Jordan threw himself into his new passions with enthusiasm. He joined the Junior Police Academy program that Officer Sanchez had recommended, eagerly soaking up knowledge about law enforcement and community safety. At school, he started a peer safety awareness group, teaching his classmates about the importance of trusting their instincts and speaking up when something seemed wrong. One crisp autumn afternoon, as Jordan was walking home from school, he noticed a commotion near the local park. A group of kids were huddled around something, their voices raised in excitement and concern. Curiosity piqued, Jordan jogged over to investigate. As he approached, he saw what had caught their attention: a small, bedraggled puppy, its fur matted and dirty, cowering beneath a bush. The poor creature looked terrified and hungry. "What's going on?" Jordan asked, pushing through the crowd. A girl from his class, Sophia, turned to him with tears in her eyes. "We found this puppy, Jordan. It looks like it's been abandoned. We don't know what to do." Jordan knelt down, his heart aching for the frightened animal. He remembered the lessons he'd learned about approaching scared animals from his Junior Police Academy training. Slowly, gently, he extended his hand, speaking in a soft, soothing voice. "Hey there, little one. It's okay. We're not going to hurt you." To everyone's surprise, the puppy inched forward, sniffing Jordan's hand cautiously. After a moment, it let out a tiny whimper and licked his fingers. "Good job, Jordan," Sophia exclaimed. "But what do we do now? We can't just leave it here." Jordan thought for a moment, then pulled out his phone. "I have an idea. Let me make a call." He dialed Officer Sanchez's number, explaining the situation. She listened patiently, then offered a solution. "There's an animal rescue center not far from there. I'll give them a call and have them send someone over. In the meantime, can you kids stay with the puppy and keep it calm?" Jordan agreed, relaying the plan to his classmates. They took turns sitting near the puppy, offering it bits of their after-school snacks and gentle words of comfort. Within half an hour, a van from the local animal rescue arrived. As a rescue worker, gently coaxed the puppy into a carrier. She turned to the group of kids. "You all did a great job today. This little guy is going to be just fine, thanks to you." Jordan felt a familiar warmth spread through his chest, the satisfaction of knowing he'd made a difference. But this time, he wasn't alone. He looked around at his classmates, seeing the same pride and joy reflected in their faces. That evening, as Jordan recounted the day's events to his mom over dinner, an idea began to form in his mind. "Mom," he said suddenly, "what if we could do more to help animals like that puppy?" Letitia raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What did you have in mind, honey?" "Well," Jordan began, his words tumbling out in excitement. "What if we organized some kind of fundraiser for the Animal Rescue Center? Maybe a bake sale or a car wash. We could get my classmates involved, maybe even the whole school." Letitia's face lit up with pride. "That's a wonderful idea, Jordan. Why don't you talk to your principal about it tomorrow?" The next day, Jordan nervously approached Principal Watkins' office. To his surprise and delight, the principal was immediately supportive of the idea. "Jordan," Principal Watkins said, leaning forward in his chair, "I've been incredibly impressed with how you've handled yourself these past few months. You've shown remarkable leadership and compassion. I think this fundraiser is a fantastic idea, and I'd like to make it a school-wide event." Over the next few weeks, Jordan threw himself into organizing the fundraiser. He coordinated with his classmates, reached out to local businesses for donations, and even gave a speech at a school assembly to rally support. The entire school buzzed with excitement as the day of the event approached. On the morning of the fundraiser, Jordan could hardly contain his nerves. The school grounds had been transformed into a bustling fairground, with booths for baked goods, a car wash station, and even a small petting zoo courtesy of the Animal Rescue Center. As people began to arrive, Jordan felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to see Emily, the woman he had saved months ago, standing there with a bright smile. "I hope you don't mind me showing up," she said. "I heard about your fundraiser, and I wanted to support you." Jordan's face lit up. "Of course I don't mind. I'm so glad you're here." As the day progressed, the fundraiser was a roaring success. Kids and adults alike flocked to the various booths, eager to contribute to the cause. Jordan found himself constantly on the move, helping wherever he was needed, from manning the bake sale table to assisting with the car wash. At one point, he noticed a small commotion near the petting zoo. A young boy, no more than 5 or 6, was crying, apparently scared of the animals. Without hesitation, Jordan made his way over. "Hey there," he said gently, kneeling down to the boy's level. "What's wrong?" The boy sniffled, pointing at the pen of rabbits. I want to pet them, but I'm scared." Jordan smiled reassuringly. "That's okay. It's all right to be scared sometimes. But you know what? These rabbits are really friendly. Would you like me to show you how to pet them?" The boy nodded hesitantly. Jordan carefully picked up one of the rabbits, cradling it gently. "See? He's soft and calm. Would you like to touch his fur?" Slowly, the boy reached out a trembling hand. As his fingers made contact with the rabbit's soft fur, his face broke into a wide smile. "He's so fluffy," he exclaimed. Jordan laughed, feeling a familiar warmth spread through his chest. This was why he had organized this event, to help create moments of joy and connection, whether between people and animals or between community members themselves. As the day wound down, Jordan found himself surrounded by his friends, family, and community members, all congratulating him on the success of the fundraiser. Principal Watkins announced that they had raised over $5,000 for the Animal Rescue Center, far exceeding their initial goal. But for Jordan, the real success wasn't measured in dollars. It was in the smiles he saw on people's faces, the sense of community that had blossomed throughout the day, and the knowledge that they had all come together to make a difference. That evening, as Jordan helped clean up the school grounds, he felt a sense of contentment wash over him. He thought back to that fateful day when he had trusted his instincts and saved Emily. That one act of bravery had set off a chain reaction, leading him to discover his passion for helping others and making a positive impact on his community. As Jordan lay in bed that night, he thought back to the scared kid selling candy bars, just trying to help his mom make ends meet. He never could have imagined the journey that one moment of bravery would set him on. But now, looking towards the future, Jordan felt a sense of purpose and excitement. He knew there would be challenges ahead, but he also knew he had the strength, the support, and the determination to face them. After all, he had learned the most important lesson of all, that even the smallest act of courage could change not just one life, but many. And he was ready to keep making those small, brave choices every single day. As Jordan drifted off to sleep, he smiled to himself. Tomorrow was a new day, full of possibilities, and he couldn't wait to see what it would bring. Jordan's courage and quick thinking not only saved a life, but also sent ripples through his entire community. By trusting his instincts and calling for help, Jordan showed that bravery has no age limit. His actions uncovered a dangerous situation, brought justice, and reminded everyone that even the smallest voices can make the biggest difference. If Jordan's story moved you, be sure to subscribe for more heartwarming and inspiring stories. And before you go, we'd love to hear from you. How do you think you would have handled the situation if you were in Jordan's shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments below.